Well, hello, dear sisters and brothers. Welcome to Catholic SG Radio. I'm Andreacha with Beatrice de Cruz, and this is Off the Pulpit. Now, on Off the Pulpit, of course, we're truly blessed to have members of our clergy come in and to share with us matters of faith.
Now, during the season of Lent, one of the most popular forms of prayer and meditation is the Stations of the Cross, also known as the Way of the Cross. Now, this solemn yet well-known devotional meditation has been around for so long that many of us grew up with it without really asking where and how these meditations came about.
Absolutely. And actually, over the years, dear sisters and brothers, the tradition of praying the Stations of the Cross developed, and it came up with, well, there are actually really different versions of it that you might hear, and if you are, of course, attentive, you'll realize the difference. Now, all of this, of course, was developed by those who actually came up with these meditations, knowing that they would have a very, very slim chance of actually going and tracing the actual steps of Jesus, where he was, of course, crucified. And so to share with us a little bit more about what the Stations of the Cross really are, we have in the studio with us Fr Andrew Lin. Father is Assistant Parish Priest at the Church of the Holy Cross, and he's also Spiritual Director of Choice, yes, Father, which is an international program for singles or those young ones who are already dating, young adults who are dating. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But Father, first of all, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Hi, morning, Andrew and Beatrice.
Okay,
you, Father.
now, Father, so let's get into it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, okay, I think you're supposed to start.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Beats.
No problem. Father, could you share with us when and how did the Stations of the Cross become a devotional meditation, particularly during the Lenten season?
Yeah, so when you mentioned earlier about the where and the how, I had to search it out myself. Right? It's not something that we probably think about very much.
Yeah.
But it was quite nice that it's like a way of following the Lord. And this came up way back in the 1000 to 1300s, the High Middle Ages, they call it.
Right.
And became more of a formal devotional meditation. We always have our veneration of the cross, we have our reading of the Lord's Passion, and this became a way for the laity to also really be participative and immersed in it. And that the pilgrims would faithfully visit the sites associated with the Lord's Passion.
Right.
And actually it's like a synthesis of the various devotions that the people came up. Right? So there's a section on the Way of the Cross actually in this directory on popular piety and the liturgy by the Congregation for Divine Worship and the Discipline of the Sacraments. And they so speak briefly about the history, they speak briefly about why and how this was brought about. So there are synthesis of the various forms of devotions like the three falls of Christ, and the sorrowful journey, which they started with going from one church to another, and also they started thinking of the stations of Christ, or the stops of Christ, where Christ would fall or where he would meet the people. And so these became a culmination, a coalescence of these various different devotions that the people already had. And then came out with this more formalized way of the Stations of the Cross as we know it now.
Right. Father, so then who propagated, the Stations of the Cross?
So again, the Franciscans, right? They were given custody of the Holy Land in the 14th century. And then because of that, one of their Franciscans later on allowed, or rather promulgated this devotion.
Wow.
Yeah. You see from this San Leonardo da Porto Maurizio, or St. Leonard of Port Maurice.
Right.
Yeah, so he actively promoted this devotion in the 18th century. And so he was a Franciscan himself, and they played a significant role in the dissemination. They were granted the right to erect the stations in their churches, and this was pivotal in the establishment of the devotion as a practice for the faithful.
Oh, that's lovely. So I didn't know that. So the Franciscans, they gave us the crib Well, St. Francis did.
St. Francis, yeah.
And then, and now...
It helped that they have custody of the Holy Land, I suppose.
I suppose. Yeah,
So
yeah,
everything
yeah.
goes through them.
No, that's true. That's true. Okay.
Father, what about, is it the same person who approved the public devotion of the Stations of the Cross? Because you mentioned Pope.
Yeah,
earlier
so I
on.
was looking at the history. It's quite interesting. It was in stages as well.
Oh, okay.
So it started in 1686, where the Franciscans were granted the special right to erect the Stations of the Cross, Pope Innocent XI.
Okay.
And then Pope Benedict XIII extended the privilege to all the churches, not just the Franciscan churches. Right? And so that was in 1726. And then public devotion of the Station of the Cross received universal papal approval in 1731. Yeah, Pope Clement XII formally sanctioned it.
Wow.
He even gave indulgences associated with this in 1742, right, to the faithful who participated in this devotion, especially when it was in a church or public setting. Yeah, I think we talked about indulgences previously.
Yes, that's right. Yes, we did.
To remit the temporal punishment for sins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Never thought of that in that way. Well, if you're listening here to us, of course, here on Off the Pulpit, we have Father Andrew Lin, and we're talking about today about the Stations of the Cross, this beautiful meditation which we do during this Lenten season. And as I said, sometimes we don't really think about how truly beautiful actually these meditations are for us. Father, just want to ask, what kind of lessons do you think we can take away as we meditate on the Stations of the Cross?
Yeah, so I think St. Ignatius of Loyola popularized the Ignatian contemplation, right, the imagination. So if we notice in the Gospels, the text of the Passion is really something that is very detailed and very immersive.
Yes.
Yeah, and so to be able to walk with Jesus from the Mount of Olives, from Gethsemane, all the way to Calvary, and then even to the garden, right? So how much more can we participate and immerse ourselves and have this imaginative exercise in that sense to be able to have a journey together with the Lord?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
And that's always been something the church talks about.
Yes.
Every procession that we do is a pilgrimage. Yeah, and so these stations, of course, becomes a life-like or way of walking together with the Lord. And as we talk about pilgrimages as well, that journey, our true home is in heaven. Yeah, and so how does Jesus lead us in that way from our earthly home to our true home in heaven?
Right.
By being more and more conformed to the passion of Christ.
Right.
Yeah. So by walking with the Lord, by carrying our cross together with Him, we can really allow the Lord to show us that are we able to live that life, not just as a devotion, not just as a half an hour thing that we do, but really throughout our life.
It could also be seen as a journey of hope, isn't it?
Yes, right? Because sometimes we look at the cross and then it's all the gloom and doom.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this year being, a jubilee year of hope,
Yep.
I think actually the Stations of the Cross maybe could take on a little bit more than just, what we usually do year in and year out. Right?
And I think there's a misconception of the Jubilee year being the door again, about the door itself.
Yeah.
So in our cathedral, we have the shrine of the crucifix, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and the crucifix is really that sign of hope. Not because of its leading to death, but it's through death, through the passion of Jesus, through our own participation in that suffering,
Yeah.
to be led to the resurrection.
In a sense, also, it's looking at our own spiritual death and resurrection as well.
Yes, and that's why we have this journey, right? It's not something we do at the snap of a finger.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
See?
Sign of hope, yes.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so Father, I think we all know that there are 14 stations of the cross.
Yeah.
But recently Andre and I were talking and he said, do you know that there's a 15th station added? And I was like, what? And so we have to ask you. We have to ask you about this 15th station.
Actually, not many people realize it, unless, of course, in the seminary in 17th Avenue, there are actually 15 stations of
In
the
St.
cross.
Joseph's Church, Bukit Timah as well.
As well,
Yeah,
right?
It's not in the usual route, but it's further away.
Ah,
Yeah, so you can go on a treasure hunt.
that's
Okay, I need
right.
to do that.
Yeah, but tell us about the 15th station, Father.
So it's actually an optional station, right? So there is a traditional 14 stations, and that is recommended by the church to be retained in this understanding of the Stations of the Cross,
Yeah.
right? And in fact, the same document that we referred to in the Directory of Popular Piety will say that's one way, right? But once you do it more and more, you can actually also adapt. Yeah, so there are our rosary devotions, right, where we have the scourging at the pillar, the crowning with thorns. So these are not in the Stations of the Cross per se.
Right.
But once you do it more and more, you can also bring in these different stations in that sense, right? It's
Right.
not a static kind of idea of a devotion. Yeah. And yet, from there, that adaptation really, like we said, if we are meant to see these stations as a journey of hope, then there must be always that context of the resurrection. Yeah. So it is optional, right? But the way of the cross in Jerusalem also has this addition in that sense.
Wait, so what's the 15th station?
So
I'm still in suspense.
The resurrection.
is leading towards the resurrection.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they end with a station, and in the Greek it's the anastasis, right? The rising up, the resurrection. So that the celebration ends with this commemoration of the Lord's resurrection. Yeah, so even in Lent, when we do the Stations of the Cross, maybe we don't have that yet, right? But as we are leading to it, at the back of our minds is always really where are we journeying together with the Lord towards? Yeah.
Yeah. Again, wow. Lovely. Apparently, it was Pope St. John Paul II who introduced this, and it was, one of his favorite, I suppose, additions. Just like, the Luminous Mysteries, right? He was the one also who introduced the Luminous Mysteries, right? So really about the whole ministry of Jesus. And that was also a different dimension of praying the rosary as well. Yeah. Okay, Father. Another question. Okay, so we talk about the Stations of the Cross. There is this other, how do you call it? A devotion in a sense, or it's a journey of devotion, I would want to call it.
Or some sort of like a pilgrimage also, possibly.
It's a mini pilgrimage in
Mini
itself.
pilgrimage, I think,
It's
yeah.
called the Scala Sancta, or the
Yes.
Scala Sancta, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Holy Stairs, right? So I got it the other way around. So the Scala Sancta, and these were the stairs actually that led to the Praetorium, to Pilate's place in Jerusalem, and in which Jesus, of course, walked along
steps, yep.
on his way to his trial and his passion. Now, in terms of devotion and meditation, what can we distinguish between the Holy Stairs and as well as the Stations of the Cross?
So I hope to be able to participate in one day.
It's beautiful. But
I'm actually going to Italy in November this year.
Oh, really?
Nice.
So I
Pad
hope-
your knees, Father. But if you really want to feel the pain, I mean, you will feel it.
28 marble steps.
Yes,
all the way up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an amazing ascent, really.
And we can only do it on our knees, if I'm not
Yes,
wrong.
correct,
yes.
Father. Yeah.
You
So-
not supposed to
Actually, I just
stand.
went in.
Oh, you did, right?
A couple of months ago. It was really a cool experience because, so I went with a friend, and then she was telling me like, there's the fake stairs and the real stairs.
Okay.
The real stairs. So these stairs, right, are marble steps.
Yeah.
And they are covered with wood so that you can kneel
Yes.
on the 28 steps up.
Correct.
Yeah. Then the fake one, people can walk up lah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, not everyone
not
can
that big
do.
traffic jam.
Yeah, correct.
Oh,
Yeah. Actually,
So, in fact,
yeah.
it's recommended that you go very early in the morning, right? Or either that or very late in the afternoon.
yeah.
Yeah, wherever
So
it's
I did
less crowded.
the latter because I'm not a morning person.
Okay.
I went closer towards the closing time.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was really such an experience because a lot of nuns were there also.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And then we were all, kneeling and going up the steps.
Actually, we did
Yeah.
this. Actually, I'm proud to say we did this with His Eminence. Actually,
the other time, yes.
after he was created cardinal, right? And so we went together, and we climbed together these stairs. I mean, it was. I think for him, it was also a very humbling, experience. For me too. I mean,
It's
it
very
was
meaningful. Yeah.
not just meaningful. I mean,
Yeah.
it really bears on you. The steps really that Jesus took
Yeah.
to his trial. And if you really contemplate on that, my goodness, it really hits you.
It hits you in that moment.
To
for
pray with
sure.
our whole bodies, maybe, in
Yeah.
a way.
Yeah. And because, after a while, no matter how strong a person you are, your knees will
Oh, yeah.
feel,
After that, it felt like goyak like that.
bearing your weight
Yeah.
is not a joke.
Yeah.
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 But tell us, Father,
Yes.
what did you find out?
Yeah. So, whenever we do these physical activities, I suppose it's always not to take the wrong message out of it as well.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just about endurance, as though we are better when we do these things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But really, how does it help us to immerse ourselves once again in that way of following the Lord in the cross?
Yeah.
Right? Participating spiritually in His journey towards the crucifixion and resurrection. Yeah. So these are opportunities for us to lengthen our devotion, lengthen our prayer, and to really deepen our penance, our sorrow for sin, to ask the Lord for His mercy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this, I think Fatima is another path of kneeling, right, towards the
Yes.
sanctuary. And these are different ways that the church invites us to pray with our whole bodies. Right? But it's not to say that if we don't do this,
Yeah.
right? So
No.
comparing to the Stations of the Cross, for example, yes, we stand and kneel, but even if we can't, right, we can still immerse ourselves. Really, it's about the heart. And how are we allowing the Lord to really form us, to transform us?
Yeah.
And the way that we change our lives, not just for devotion, but really in the way that the rest of our life makes a difference. Yeah. So the spiritual significance, our humility, our penance, our reflection, rather than just the physical endurance and strength that we do. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite station? Do you have a particular favorite station or a particular set of stations that you have a particular liking
The falls
for?
always hit me.
The falls.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think they mark out the stations, like the 3rd, the 7th, the 9th.
Yeah.
You know, really gives a sense of that momentum, or even how more and more it's easier for Jesus to fall because of his fatigue and his tiredness.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it gives to me that progression of how I also can progress, right? That even when I fall over and over again, that I cling on to the Lord. Yeah, that is really not about my strength, but His. Yeah.
Actually, for me, you talk about the falls. It's really, also the Lord, even as we fall, I think the important thing is that He invites us to get up again, to get on and continue with Him. Of course, we could never do that alone. But in all things, I think, in our lives, if we are tuned into His invitation to get up and to continue, I think that really, for me, is important. Although some of course, say that these 3 falls are not scriptural in that sense of the word. But the other one that they talked about was Veronica wiping the face of Jesus.
Yes.
That doesn't seem to be there, right? But it is these things, I think, that in its if we look at what must have happened along the way, Jesus, I think, at every step was praying for the people. We know this when He told the women of Jerusalem, "Do not weep for me, but for yourselves and for your children."
And the compassion for Him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, the other one they were talking about was the meeting of Jesus with His mother.
Oh, yeah.
They said it's not scriptural, but I mean, Our Lady was definitely there.
Yes.
She was definitely there. If she was at the cross,
Of course.
which is
She was
recorded,
throughout.
Yes.
she must have been there all
Yeah.
the time. Because to make her way to Golgotha, to stand at the cross, she must have made that same journey to be, with the Lord.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, we put sentimentality aside and all of that, but I mean, we really think about it in all earnestness, and in a sense, what could have truly been very practical as well. Those things.
And really the humanity of Jesus.
Yeah.
Right? These things are very real.
Absolutely.
And help us to deepen our relationship with our mother, with Mother Mary.
Absolutely.
Right? What's the kind of gaze do we have with Mother Mary?
Yeah.
That she loves us as her children as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really, the sisters and brothers, we hope that as I said, this is only the third week. We still have a few more weeks in Lent to go. And if you haven't had the opportunity, I know sometimes, with work and all of that in between, sometimes you can't get to the stations on time. Station of the Cross at least, on time. But
You can do stations at any time,
Exactly.
at anywhere, in your own home.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah, not only during Lent as well.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's not something that. See, so we have actually no excuse, right? But hopefully, we do certainly pray that you get to know this a little bit more and appreciate it a little bit more. And if you have friends to gather and your community to pray with, I think all the more beautiful as well.
Maybe just one last anecdote as well.
Sure, Father.
We have a certain booklet that we use in our parishes.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes we do it every year over and over again.
Yeah.
The Vatican website actually has their various different ways of the cross every year. And so it's something different that we can actually look into.
Yes.
Right? So you don't have to stick to the book.
Correct.
Yes.
You see?
So something more to look into. And there are various different themes that the Vatican has, the popes have introduced.
Wonderful.
Or if we don't have the book,
Yes.
that's the resource that we can use.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we certainly have no excuses at all whatsoever. Father, thank you so much
Yeah, thanks
for
for sharing,
sharing
Father.
with us
Yeah.
and giving us that perspective, and really for encouraging us also to pray the Stations of the Cross. So Father Andrew Lin is, of course, he's assistant parish priest at the Church of the Holy Cross. He's also the spiritual director of Choice, which is a program for singles and young dating adults. Father, tell us a little bit more since
about this ministry.
Yeah, your Choice ministry. What do you do there, or what is it actually really about?
So I think when I first became spiritual director of Choice, I think there was still this misconception that Choice is a place where you go and find your partner.
Okay.
Because they call it a place for singles, right?
Yes, that's right. That's
but
right.
it's really a way of a program for deepening our relationships with one another, our sense of belonging. And if we don't have that sense of belonging and deepening of relationships as singles, right, then we are always looking for something to complete us.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not really what the Lord has in store for us. It's really
Right.
a sense that we are whole, and therefore we belong, and therefore we can give of ourselves to one another. Yeah. So relationships, not in the sense of purely dating, and that's of course one part of it,
Yes.
but also our vocation, also our interpersonal friendships,
Correct.
our family. How are we able to deepen our belonging with one another?
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So for all singles, 18 to 40, or if you are dating young adults, right, it's still open to you as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Father, for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Father.
By the way, this on-call broadcast, dear sisters and brothers,
Yes.
is tonight at 8 p.m. And also you can watch this episode on Off the Pulpit, of course, on the Archdiocese YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's right. And so we leave you with that. As Andre mentioned, tonight's the encore. So don't forget to catch that and share it with someone as well.
Definitely.
Yep. Thank you so much.
So,
Father.
thank you for being with us. Yes, thank you, Father, once
Thank you.
again. And thank you, dear sisters and brothers. We hope you truly have a very blessed time during this Lent. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye.